everybody. Welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Camilla.
Today we're taking a look at an expansion to Seven Wonders Architects called Medals, in which you are going to get medals.
Hopefully.
Oh,
You're going to
maybe.
fight for the medals.
Some of us get medals, some of us don't.
That is true. And you also got 2 new factions that you can play as. That's pretty much it. This is, you can see, a large size box, but a very skinny box. Same dimensions as the original game, much, much flatter. Of course, let me go ahead and show you what comes in here. I'm not explaining how to play Seven Wonders Architects. I'm just showing you the contents, and we'll be right back. So here's everything that comes with the expansion. You're getting 2 new factions. You are getting the titular medals over here. And then you have 4 new of these progress tokens. So the 2 factions are going to have their own layouts, of course, and they each have their own abilities. So we've got over here Rome with everything it needs, just like the ones in the base game. And then every time you trigger the special ability of Rome by building this, you are going to trigger this ability over here, where you take a card from in front of someone else, give it to yourself, trigger it if it's a cat or a horn, and then you give them a face-down one from the central deck. On their turn, they reveal and deal with that, and they get their new card on top of it. So you can take one from somebody knowing exactly what it is. Very powerful. And then this one over here is going to, when you trigger that, you take the cat pawn from someone, and then you immediately choose one of the 3 available cards and put it in front of you. So that will rob the cat from somebody. The 4 new tokens over here, the progress tokens, you have 1 more copy of this one right here. So now it's a little easier to get a pair of 2. This brings the total of these up to 3 in the game. You've got this one over here that lets you keep your military cards with a horn after that triggers. This one here gives you 2 victory points for every gray card. And then this is a new kitty cat. So if you have this token, it's as though you always have the cat and you always get to peek at the top card of the central deck before you take a turn. Very cool. Now, the final thing I want to talk about here, of course, is the medals themselves. This is the central idea in the game. They're worth 4 victory points, as you can see on the back of the tiles, and you are going to shuffle all these up and put one in between every 2 players at the table. So you've got 1 player sitting here, 1 player sitting here, and then a third where this rule book is. Then you would shuffle all these up and you'd put one face up between these people, between them, and between these 2 over here. And you now therefore have access to 2 of these that you could complete. And it's a first come, first served sort of deal. As soon as somebody has achieved what is necessary, then they are going to claim that medal and gain those 4 victory points. You have access to 2. There is a variant in the rule book where you also put a couple of these in the center of the table, and therefore you have access to possibly up to 4 of these. These 2 going to anybody, and then your 2, if I'm sitting here, your 2 neighboring locations. And they do fairly straightforward things, or rather their triggers are fairly straightforward things. Build 3 levels, be the first one to do that. You're, of course, competing with the player sitting next to you. 2 of those and have the cat, blue cards, red cards, win the fight on both sides, that sort of thing. So there you go. Pretty straightforward, very clean, a small addition really, and something that you can easily throw right in and explain to folks the 2 symbols, and you're off and running. Don't forget the 2 that go in the middle. That's an optional advanced rule. You do not have to teach that rule if you don't want to, and you can just deal with the 2 around you. And there you go. That is everything that comes in the expansion. This is one game that I never thought, ooh, I can't wait for the expansion to come out. Because it's such a simple game, and it was almost designed to be like the entry point version of Seven Wonders, I thought.
But I do think it is one that I saw an expansion for with the new factions. I never thought a new mechanism, like, ooh, it needed something more. Let's give another way to score. Let's give something else. But the factions, that's like, I mean, I love that. A little bit of asymmetry, something like that. I mean, if this is the one your family plays all the time, or need that couple extra players, something like that, I definitely saw the room for that and was excited for it.
I agree. It's funny how it's like you don't look for, I want more cards, because any more cards would overcomplicate this. The cards do what they do.
Right.
But you're right. The different asymmetry I do like. 'Cause I think they're very asymmetric. The way every player builds. Some are just straight points. Other ones
simple asymmetry, but
yeah, it's not really lean into it. But the metal thing, I think it's nice because it adds that little thing you can focus on, or you don't have to.
The thing about it is, I'm very cautious of a simple game that they add expansions to, because you can very quickly change what I think is the target audience for that game. Seven Wonders Architects, I could play with really almost anybody.
Yeah.
It is that clean. It is that simple. There are a couple of moving parts, and you are good to go. I love that about it. And then you announce an expansion that includes a new mechanism, and I'm like, oh, here we go. You did it again. You moved a game. You moved it outside of the comfort zone.
Yep.
It's happened before plenty of times. But you know what? They nailed it. They didn't.
Right.
I think the metals is fine. It does not.
Yeah.
It does not change the target audience. It's such a small thing. I remember when we first played, I explained the rule for the metals in like 2 sentences, and then it was like, okay, that's it, guys. I don't have nothing else to say.
And the symbology is just as straightforward as the first one, which I think only one of the metals in the very first game I played, only one of the metals we had to look up what it would mean.
Right.
Because the other's like, all right, cool, I got that. Done. It fits pretty seamlessly into it. I think what you said, it doesn't change the target audience. If you put this in the base game, it can stay in the base game.
And I like little, I guess the green disc or technology or whatever they call them.
The progress tokens?
Yeah, I like the addition of those. First of all, the cat, having that permanent cat, that's
was
cool. It's really cool.
I like that.
Why are you looking at the top? Oh, you've got that stupid cat.
Every time.
And then I also like the addition of, the set collection when you get 1 is worth 4, 2 is worth whatever, 12. 12. That's the second one. If you don't have the first one, it's always you just hate draft it. You just take it because you don't want the other person to have it.
Right.
But now, if 2 people have it, it turns into a race.
Yeah.
Between these 2, and it's like, I like having a third one out there.
But it also increases the odds of it being in those.
Right.
Because if it's a lower count game, you're not going to go through them all. So it increases the odds. So in a 3-player game, I might be more apt to go for that.
I agree. I think the 2 new things, mechanically speaking, it's really just the metals and then a few more of those tokens. They go right in for me. I never have to think about taking them out again. I really don't. It's that simple.
Yep.
Now, as far as the new factions, what did you guys think of those?
They were kind of disappointing to me. The first thing I noticed when I looked at them side by side is they're pretty similar.
In what they do, their special abilities.
Yes, they do it in a different way, like the opposite way, but their actual powers that you play into are very similar, and that was a little bit of a disappointment to me. That being said, I played one of them, and I did enjoy it, and I like leaning into the cat and stuff like that, but I was a little bit disappointed with how similar they were. They did not feel as asymmetric to each other as the other ones from the base game felt.
I played the other one. I haven't played the one you played in that game, but I played the other one, which is where you steal a card from someone, and then they get something random from the top of the deck. And it sounds very like, whatever. It is good. It is, and it's even better with more people around the table, because you can really target what you want. It's probably out there, you know what I mean? I'm looking for this symbol, I'm looking for that one card, whatever. You can take that. They get something, and they'll reveal it on their turn. So I like that ability, but I think you're right that on the one hand, I'm like, they're not that interesting, they're not that flashy. On the other hand, I go back to my previous argument, which is like, good, do not move the target audience on this.
Right.
And you also don't have to use both of them. We specifically used both of them in that playthrough, in a 4-person playthrough, just to see. And so I think they still bring variety to the base at the same time. I would want them to be a little more separate, I think.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy them.
Yeah, I think they're fine. I would not gravitate to those 2 over the other ones, but having the options is good.
Yeah.
When you talk about expansions, you always have to discuss a little bit how vital does this expansion feel? How important? Would I recommend this expansion to someone who's perfectly happy with the base game? And it's a bit of a tricky question with this one, because I like the expansion quite a bit. I think it's very fun, but I also don't feel like you need it. It's slight, which gets a thumbs up from me, but it's also slight, so you don't need it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
one of those things. So it's a tricky thing to recommend.
I think I recommend it just because, I guess, if you love the game. If you like the game, of course not, but if you love it, I think it adds another layer, and it's barely a layer. The extra little progress tokens in the middle, I like, and more options to choose from.
I'm definitely where I will universally recommend it. Like, yes, I really like it. It's really good. I recommend this one. But then they say, but do I need it? And I'm like, oh, no, of course not.
Yeah.
That's where I am. It's like my like of it and glad that it's there if you want it is very high. But it's not that you've got to have it. It brings the variety this game needed.
Yes.
It's not
True.
there.
It's like it doesn't do what some expansions will fix something in the game.
Right.
And this didn't need fixing.
Or others
first of
just
all.
gives more just to increase that replayability.
Right.
Or
where,
strengthens
something like that.
something.
Right.
This one doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
What would you give it, Joey? Where are you coming down
I'm
on
just giving
this?
it a 9. I like this game a lot. And this just adds, because you're, again, working with people next to you and you're watching that medal and you're going back and forth and you're wondering why is that person going this route? Well, look at their medal. And I love what that adds of progress tokens. I think it's great. I can't imagine playing without it because I have it. I don't need it, but it's also not that hard to just add in when you're teaching someone.
It's one more thing to compete with your neighbors on, and that feels good.
Right.
It does.
It actually, that's the other thing. It increases the interaction between the players with half a rule. It's like
Exactly.
a sentence, and you've
Yeah,
got
it really
It's
is.
amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Very similar. I'm coming in at an 8.5 though.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know that it's that I have to have it. I would be perfectly fine if I never had this. I'm also very happy I have it if I do,
Yeah.
But I absolutely recommend. I think what it brings is a lot of fun, increasing the player interaction. It's not really interacting with each other at all times. It's more being very aware of players and what they're doing and when to go for that medal and when to be like, if I have the military one and I'm not getting those options. All right, fine. Let me hyper focus on this one. Or wow, I'm both out of both of these medal races. Let me do something else.
Yeah.
And so it just gives you more player awareness, and I think that is a positive to the game. So I really think it's a great one, but it's one that you're going to have to decide if you need it.
Yeah, and I've voiced a few negatives as well, but I'm also giving this one an 8.5, and I'll tell you why. I think this expansion manages to do for Seven Wonders Architects what I thought the leaders did for Seven Wonders. That was the first expansion there. And Seven Wonders is a game where you play that first epoch or whatever it is. It feels aimless. It feels like you are just sort of building up whatever you can build up. And then for the second part, and then the third after that, you've got a roadmap because you've got some stuff you've already invested in. And you're like, okay, I'm going to keep pushing for science because that's what I did. They landed in my lap and I took them. And so I'm going the science route. Great. And then Leaders comes out for that original game, and you now have these people that say, you're better at military. And that's like, oh, then I'll be military guy. Wonderful. This manages to do that, to give you focus by putting a target on this side and a target on this side, and it says, build your wonder faster than this guy over here. It's like, cool, I have a thing, a path.
Yep.
I'm going to do that. Ooh, and there's a competing path over here. So it's, this balance, this sort of like, it makes, out of the 3 cards you could take on your turn, it makes them different to you, like how valuable they are.
Right.
I see that.
With almost no rules. So I like that.
I agree.
It's not a necessary expansion, but I'll tell you what, if you have played the base game and you're getting the base game, I also wouldn't necessarily dissuade you from buying both at once, because this doesn't feel like a bolted-on addition. It just doesn't. It's so natural. This feels so... It's so well implemented that they just knocked it out of the park, Some expansions you can see the duct tape and the bolts, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh yeah, they added this thing on here.
Yeah.
This one doesn't.
And it's really pleasing how the boxes fit together. Like, this is a small one, and at first I was really disappointed, and I still am. I wish it
Right.
fit in the base box.
Sure.
But with the trays that I will never get rid of because I think they're fantastic.
They're very
So
good.
good.
There's no way it really could fit in there. So just having one that just fits so very pleasing right on top, it matches, they look great together. It's not going to take up that much more the presence on your shelf. I like that as well. That's just that little visual thing that just makes me happy. They
I
look good
agree.
together.
Yeah, you can keep both next on, one on top of the other, whatever, and keep those cool inserts. So there you go, folks. That is Seven Wonders Architects Metals, a wonderful expansion, and that is getting a seal of excellence from all three of us,
Across the
actually.
board.
So there you go. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans
I'm Camilla.
Compete with your neighbors.
for Metals.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.